police
in the morning.
Welcome, B-movie fans, to this week's episode of Director's Showcase. This week, as we continue Tod Browning Month, we will be reviewing the film London After Midnight from 1927. So, Dave, what did you think of London After Midnight?
London After Midnight. Well, once again, it's a Tod Browning and Lon Chaney dynamic duo, so it's already great. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's the movie doesn't exist, like we said before. I am pretty sure nobody has a copy, but if you do, message me here, please. But this recreation that they did with Turner Classic Movies back in the early 2000s, conjures up a really good 43, 45-minute slideshow, if you will, of photographs and some just awesome music together. And I had the names written down. The guy that worked with the photographs names was Rick Schmidlin, and the guy who did the music for it was Robert Israel. And the way that they did this, I mean, I'm just speaking from my point of view, but I feel like they really brought this movie to life with the only chance of hope that it had. And if they hadn't done this movie would have probably just been completely forgotten and erased from the history books. But you asked what my opinion is, and man, this movie, it's freaking awesome, and I love the story.
Now that you mention it, when I watched this, I thought there was something weird with it, like with the pictures not really moving, but I thought I had really bad internet connection, so that explains all of that.
Yeah, no, it's literally it's just still frame photo shots, and 45 minutes worth of photos. A couple of them are some of the same ones over and over, but they managed to really capture enough of what the characters' reactions are to give you a genuine sense of what's going on. And because of the diversity that Lon Chaney is able to do, you really get enough out of it. And for those who don't know, this was Tod Browning's entry into the vampire world.
Yeah, this came out 4 years before Dracula, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, so everyone knows Dracula as his vampire movie, but this one is arguably better, at least plot-wise.
Oh yeah, I'd argue that all day. It's definitely better. And I'm not sure if you know this, Paul. I know a lot of people don't. This movie, it goes forgotten a lot. A lot of people don't know it exists, but maybe they know the other version that exists. This movie was redone by Tod Browning in 1935 as Mark of the Vampire. But instead of Lon Chaney, because the dear man passed away, he used Bela Lugosi.
Following in Lon Chaney's footsteps yet again.
Hey, he learned from the best.
Can't argue that. Lon Chaney had two different roles in this, didn't he? He was the Inspector Edward Burke, and he was also the man in the beaver hat, wasn't he? The really creepy looking guy.
Yeah, and man, what a look. Something I love about this movie too, and you can see this in all the photos, is it's got spooky backgrounds. I mean, the place looks freaking awesome. It's a London mansion covered in vines and fog. I mean, it's perfect. And Lon Chaney, the way he's always over the top doing his characters, and I mean, just the fang teeth that he has, and I'm not talking two fangs. If anybody's seen a picture, they know what it is. But a side note is this character inspired the Babadook.
Yeah, I was gonna say they look exactly alike.
Yeah, so I know if somebody brought home a Babadook book and I'm like, oh, it's Lon Chaney, awesome.
Man in the beaver hat.
That's right. But oh man, it's so the movie starts out where they're all in this room, and the main character, so to speak, who the story is based about, is already dead, and they're trying to investigate how he died. And long story short, there's a suicide note that suggests it's a gunshot wound. Then you have the best friend who's there, you have his daughter who's there, and the inspector, and you have the maids and butlers and everything, but it's not sitting together like his friend's like, he wouldn't do this. I know him. He wouldn't just kill himself. He had too much to live for. And so Inspector Burke, played by Lon Chaney, is interviewing people the whole time and really trying to investigate and figure out what's going on. And a little twist on it is he's actually a hypnotist, which is really cool. And this was actually this movie was based on a story Tod Browning wrote called The Hypnotist. So, yeah, wonder how he came up with that.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
But go ahead.
I gotta say, like, just the mask and like the mannerisms, like you can kind of get a feel for it with the pictures, but the other character that Lon Chaney played that was just genuinely terrifying. Like, I really wish that some version, or at least a scene with him, existed somewhere, because I can, just based off like Phantom of the Opera and The Unknown and other films that Lon Chaney's been in, what a great performance that must have been.
I actually I look at that picture every day of him, with the hat on and the creepy eyes and teeth and everything like that, because it's actually tattooed right here on my chest.
There you
so
go.
Every day I get to see the man in the mask. But
spend some extra time in the bathroom getting ready.
yeah, easy now. It's the wrong idea. But I think the movie is very well done. I could tell that people were very devoted in their acting. The people who you're afraid of are terrifying. The people you hate are douche rags, right?
Right.
And they just do a really good job of storytelling with this. And I believe if you go into this movie thinking this is dumb, I'm not going to watch a movie with just photographs, there's no way it could be good, you will be knocked on your ass, because they do it. All of the realism stands out in the movie, and the best part is if you don't know the end, you'll be surprised.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, what? No spoiler here, but
spoilers, why not?
If you didn't see the surviving print. But the deal breaker of the film is that it's all fake. So Lon Chaney, who's the inspector, Paul mentioned, plays a dual role. And yeah, in the movie he plays two characters, but in the movie he knows he's two characters. So he's playing this vampire creature basically as being in disguise. And he creeps around, and the maid and everybody's dressed up also like a vampiress, and they kind of walk around in the fog, but they're keeping an eye on the place, and they're in between everybody's conversations and whatnot, and really just causing fear and panic throughout everybody, basically, until he's able to do a hypnosis on one of the characters, and one of the characters basically relives the scene of shooting him. And I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, that was a cool way to kind of get the guy to confess, like actually hypnotizing him, and it was cool, like seeing them reenact the murder as a way of solving it. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, and it's tough to say whether this movie holds up today or not, but I think in 1927 that story rocked people, man.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I will say, like, with the in the manner that we're only able to watch it, it's a little hard to follow at times. It's like kind of hard to put pieces together. Like, it was kind of hard to tell if like Lon Chaney was supposed to be the same character, just like slightly just in a different costume at times. But I think that if the original version had been available, all those problems would have gone away. Like I have some faith in that. Like,
yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where, I mean, we're blessed to have what we have with it. Somebody out there as big as fan as we are took the time and really brought the story to light. Now, how they knew, what the story was, I don't know, but maybe they're basing it off the book and they just dig into the archives. But I'm surprised. I really am. Like, it's really well done to the best of its abilities, but I too just had that sense of doubt, like, oh man, like it sucks we can't really watch this, but for a second there, even just a slight fraction of a second, I mean, you're kind of engulfed. You feel like, okay, that was a good movie, and you're like, wait, that was a slideshow.
Yeah.
You do get enough out of it to be able to appreciate it. Not to mention, I mean, hey, if you're limited on time, it's 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, but if you find a version of it on YouTube, just make sure to find one with decent music and not just like people like sounds. It's people screaming that sounds like someone's dying in the background, because that'll ruin the mood a little bit.
I was gonna say, so I have this because I have the Lon Chaney box set, and it comes in the box set, and it's the actual version with the photographs and the restored music and everything. But in preparation for this, I went ahead and watched it on a smart device, and I went on YouTube, like, oh, it's right there, cool. And I'm like, it sounds like Nine Inch Nails in the background or something. This ain't right.
Yeah.
So I ended up just muting it, which it's a silent film, so that's okay sometimes. And I watched it anyway, but I remember, I'm glad you brought that up too, because if you go for YouTube on this thing, you're probably not going to get the way that they spent time restoring it in the early 2000s. So if you have a chance to actually find it, they still run it sometimes on Turner Classic Movies, or it's on the box set. It's definitely worth it, especially if you like, like the unknown and just the partnership that they do. You won't be disappointed.
For any fans of Tod Browning and Lon Chaney, it's like a must watch.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this could have been fucking illustrated. I would have still watched it.
So
oh man, they should do a cartoon. Yes. Or a comic book, London After. We're gonna have to see if they do that. Somebody out there may already do that.
That would be amazing. Yeah. So
I'm gonna get.
The only thing that I thought was I couldn't quite figure out was, since this whole thing turned out to be an actual murder, were their neighbors actually vampires in the first place, or was that just kind of a hoax?
Oh, I think it was all hoax, because like the nanny was in on it and she was dressing up like a ghoul and everything. So
that's what I thought was going on. It's like, since we're not seeing the actual version of it, it's really, some things are kind of hard to figure out. But I thought it was. You might do justice to, and depending on how you feel, you could do either order. But if you watch this first, go ahead and follow it up with like Mark of the Vampire. Or if you watch, I would recommend probably watching Mark of the Vampire first. That way you get the full story, and then watch London After Midnight and get the Chaney version of it. I think that a little more will go with it there. But don't get me wrong, the Mark of a Vampire is still a cool version, because it's got Lionel Barrymore in it as well, and we love him from Devil Doll. Oh yeah.
And then, of course, Bela Lugosi and everything like that. And I teased around with the idea of us reviewing Mark of the Vampire, but when you were talking about we should do London After Midnight, I just shut up. I was like, yes, we should. Done.
So since you've seen both Mark of the Vampire and London After Midnight, this might be kind of a weird question, but which would you say you like better? Or do they both kind of have their own good qualities?
Yeah, there's definitely something about each one. But, that's like saying, hey, Dave, did you know that Lon Chaney was going to be Willy Wonka? Like, that'd have been the best Chocolate Charlie Factory ever. So anything Lon Chaney's in, it's better than if something he's not in. But I will say that it's two different feelings, really, because they change all the names. They change some of the reactions and put it in the movie. But they're both definitely good.
Now I'm just thinking of Lon Chaney dressed as Willy Wonka instead of Gene Wilder. That
would be scary as hell.
His face, like, just get in the factory.
Yeah, just get in the factory. That's right. That's the chocolate covered cherry. Don't worry about it. It looks like blood. I said, don't worry about it. Of course, they'd be silent. Title card.
I said, don't eat any of the candy.
The funny thing about, we're joking about it, but there was I'm thinking in my head, easily 4 Lon Chaney movies that have been remade. So we know London After Midnight was Mark of the Vampire. We both know Phantom of the Opera was redone. Hunchback of Notre Dame was redone. And then, what was the 4th one in my head? I started talking too fast. Just come back to me. But basically, so far, nobody has remade a movie with Lon Chaney and been able to surpass it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat be the original in general, but he just had such a way of like playing a creepy character that it's really just unmatched, and that's saying a lot considering like most of his films are silent films.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about, hey, does anybody do that in modern days? I would put him right there. And please, people, don't throw stuff at your device or your radio. But he's kind of like Johnny Depp. He's a much better actor than Johnny Depp. But you think about what Johnny Depp sits through to become Jack Sparrow or Willy Wonka or whatever. Like, he's a character actor. He was in the Mad Hatter and everything. It's kind of like Lon Chaney. Lon Chaney became characters, but then he could carry it to a whole nother level. So. Yeah, we don't really have many of those character actors nowadays, but I guess Johnny Depp would be kind of close, right?
Yeah, definitely. They both put their all into each character that they do and each role that they play.
Yeah, there's a reason why movies like Rum Diaries don't do as good as like Alice in Wonderland. Now, that's not a knock saying one's better than the other, but if you look at box office, anytime he engulfs himself, even that musical where he's the werewolf, the Deep in the Woods or whatever it is, or Into the Woods, I think. It's nice to see some people still, it's kind of like with Bela Lugosi. He was offered the chance to play Frankenstein. He's like, but he doesn't talk. Screw that. I don't want to do it. And then what happened? Boris Karloff nails it. And so you have some people out there who see the value in the film, and regardless of what it takes or how many hours of makeup they have to sit through, they become these characters, and they just, they really create an experience for all of us movie lovers.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So if you had to rank this movie from 1 to 10, what would you give it?
I think I'm gonna go 8.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8. This one's really hard to judge just because we are watching it as basically a series of still pictures. So, I wish that this was around as an actual film, but I'd say like just because it was a bit confusing, certain parts because of that, and I can't honestly judge if it would have been better or worse if it had actually been a moving film. So I'm gonna go with an 8, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I gave it an 8 because it has everything. It has all the qualities of a great movie, and it's got Tod Browning written all over it. And it's a shame that you can't just go watch this anytime you want. But you watch this version they've created there, and it's easily an 8 for me because you just get the feeling of you're like, man, I know at a time this movie was badass.
Oh yeah.
So, and who's to say, man? If you get a chance to see it, it might have been a 9.
That's true. Unfortunately, we may never know, but who knows? Maybe there's a version of it somewhere out there.
If somebody out there has a time machine, I'm not going to tell you what to do with it, but if you wouldn't mind just grabbing that print before 1967 when it burned down in Studio Number 7, could you just bring it? I mean, you don't have to give it to me. Just put it in some public domain somewhere so we could watch it, please. Just load it to the Netflix server. That'd be cool.
We really appreciate it. You'd be doing the world a big favor.
Yeah, we'll get you on the show if you actually can prove you have that. And I figured out too, if you have this movie, I will pay you $12,360 for it, because I figure if I live to be about 65 and I give you $1 a day, I can save up. I did the math, over $12,000, and it's yours if you can give me the actual print. That'd be cool.
Yeah. It's like I know you mentioned a time machine and all that, but all we really care is like, can you get us a copy of London After Midnight?
Yeah, you can fight whatever fight you want to and save whatever you want, but we're just saying, like, while you're doing all those really great things, the other great thing you could do is just snag that film out of the MGM Studio Vault. Pretty please.
I feel like that's not too big of a favor to ask for.
Paul, how much time can we really alter if we just bring a movie back? Right? We're not causing too much trouble.
I can't see it like tearing holes in the space-time continuum or anything. Yeah.
And I thought of the fourth film, The Unholy Three. So, Tod Browning, Lon Chaney filmed The Unholy Three, and then less than 5 years later, made a remake, still with Tod Browning, and it's Lon Chaney's only talkie film. Huh. So it's gonna destroy you, bro. If you get a chance to watch it, but hearing Lon Chaney talk is freaking weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to figure out if he had been in any like actual top.
Just one.
But wow, definitely gonna have to
Yep.
check that out.
Yeah, and he plays an old lady, so good luck.
That that sounds like quite an experience. All right, so next week, as we'll be ending Tod Browning month, we will be reviewing his film Freaks, which, unlike Dracula, which he's most known for for making his career, this one unfortunately kind of ended his career very prematurely. And it's not because it's a bad film, it's because, well, the world literally wasn't ready for the movie Freaks. But we'll get more into that next week.
I'm very much looking forward to watching it again and being able to review it and see if it is still your favorite Tod Browning film now that you've seen these other ones.
Oh, yeah. So, and next week we'll, of course, be ranking our top 5 Tod Browning films. So, we'll have to see. Tune in next week to find out which ones we think are his best. So, till next time, be movie fans, be brave, be alive, and be back for more. You know,